Today we're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, and identify that sneaky start from that game. The jabroni player who's not supposed to go off, but could surprise us. These are not calls. These are just gambles to look at for each game. This is going to help those fantasy game winners who are hurting setting lineups. Those guys in very deep leagues. Those guys who have to look at the waiver wire and just pick up a random dude to start this week. If you're in that position, this is the video for you. On top of that, we're talking about the matchups. We're thinking outside the box here, so you may want to watch the whole thing even if you're good, even if you got the top team in your league, because we're looking at the matchups. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We go deep on the waiver wire every single day. We do deep dives on as many players as possible every single day throughout the season. On top of that, like today, we use multiple videos to help you set your lineups. Click that button right now. Stop missing out. Rick Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint him. But we're going to start off with our first matchup that we're going to look at for Week 10, and that's the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. Jalen Coker busted last week in fantasy football. However, he's running a lot of routes, seeing a lot of opportunity. Jonathan Mingo got traded away. If you watched last week and just look at the spreadsheets, Jonathan Mingo got a little extra run. We were wondering why Jonathan Mingo was coming in when Coker was coming out. They were getting ready to trade that dude. They were trying to get him on the market. He's gone. Jalen Coker is going to get more run in the offense, more opportunity, running routes. It's going to be up and down because the Panthers are up and down, and we got an up and down matchup here against the Giants. Not guaranteed, but he will be out there. He'll be running a lot of routes. Targets should go his way. Vikings, Jaguars, Parker Washington in an interesting situation here. We're watching Trevor Lawrence, seeing if he's going to be out on the field, but he's going to get volume here. Christian Kirk's out. He's going to be running a lot of routes. He'll be seeing targets. We're against the Minnesota Vikings. They could push the pace of this game. This could be a fun one to watch, a fun one in the box score. Parker Washington is going to be like this the rest of the season, which is a good thing to get off the waiver wire if you're hurting, but this could be the matchup for him. Mack Hollins. If Keon Coleman's out, you may want to look at Mack Hollins. He's getting the deep contested plays downfield, those deep balls, and he's getting opportunities in random games here. He has 2 games with 6 targets, another game with 5 targets. Did well last week, scored a touchdown. He's just getting random volume, and he's been a waiver wire dandy for multiple teams throughout his career and for short little windows. This could be his window with the Bills before he exits out to another team next year. 48 over under against the Colts. This is a game where the game script's going to get pushed a little bit. I look for Mack Hollins to get an opportunity. Ray McCloud. This is an easy call for this matchup. You look at the Falcons. London's banged up. We're looking at the pass catchers there. Everything is funneled to where it's supposed to go. You look at the Saints. That's a mess. Ray McCloud's going to get targets. He's going to get opportunities. He's out on the field a lot. Ran like a 94% route participation rate last week. We got a 46 over-under. Vegas is saying, hey, we should at least get moderate scoring here. We should get good enough production to fuel some fantasy points. Ray McCloud's going to get some run. Kayshon Boutte. He's been up there in route participation rate for like the last 5 games or so. We're getting targets. We're getting opportunities. 38.5 over-under against the Bears. We got Drake May versus Caleb Williams. That's supposed to be very fun to watch. Drake May makes this offense very interesting. Prior to Drake May starting, we were not looking at these wide receivers. We were not paying attention to them. We did not care. Now we got like a little carousel effect going on with these wide receivers. It's a little one, but it's starting to spin on us. And we got a few wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas. We got some opportunity in this offense. We're getting some work at the tight end spot. Kayshon Boutte could be a surprise play. Jaleel McLaughlin, we're going up against the Chiefs. Teams have to be creative against that defense. I said that in their matchup video the other day. You have to be creative against the Chiefs or they're just going to route you on defense. Jaleel McLaughlin, the RB2, he gets targets out of the backfield. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few extra targets out in the flat. If he does something, that's a different thing, but the workload might be there. Looking at the Steelers and Commanders, we got a 45.5 over-under. Russ has been cooking a little bit, so things have been looking good for the Steelers. They've been able to move the ball. Teams are able to move the ball on the Commanders, and they've been having some good matchups for fantasy production. Jalen Warren, the RB2, is starting to get more work in the offense. Not enough work for him to be consistent in fantasy football, but enough for you to look at him if you need a spot start. And this is a good matchup where the ball could be flowing pretty good for these running backs. Ricky Pearsall, we're back from bye week. We got an interesting matchup against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Teams like to pass against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got 50.5 over under here. Look for him to get some volume in this game. Look for him to push 5+ targets here. Now we're looking at the Titans and Chargers. An ugly one. I'm not looking for a sneaky start here. Nick Westbrook gets deep targets and he's starting to get a good volume of targets. 10 targets in his last 2 games. This is a wide receiver you may want to look at. Now we're looking at Eagles, Cowboys, 43 over under. Ugly one because we got some injuries here. Jalen Tolbert seeing volume. He's always a sneaky start because he's running a lot of routes, has a good route participation rate every single week, and he's very volatile. Week 5, 23.2 PPR fantasy points, and then 9 points in week 6, 7 points in week 8, 11 points in week 9. It's just up and down, but that's the type of player you want to look at for sneaky starts. Braelon Allen against the Cardinals, because there are times where he's getting a lot of touches, even though he's the RB2 in this offense. Breece Hall all day, but Braelon Allen could get that red zone look, could get a little extra opportunities in the passing game, could bust out some yards, but there's a chance against the Cardinals that he runs a little bit more than expected. Dalton Schultz for the Texans, an underrated tight end who hasn't really been hitting in the box score, but has been fairly consistent, just up and down. The volume should be there. The Lions are going to push the pace. That means they're going to have to push the pace, and Dalton Schultz should be getting some volume in this matchup. Now we just got to see if he can cross the goal line, because that is huge for tight ends. Now we're looking at Dolphins and Rams. Jalen Wright is the home run hitter here, and we're looking at the backup running backs, Corum and Wright, to see who could be the guy for the long term. We got a 50 over under. If he gets more than 6 or 7 opportunities, there's a chance he could house one. If you really want the dice roll, Jalen Wright in that 4.3 speed, you're banking on him just finding one crease and just housing it. Kind of like how Isaiah Garando did it twice this season. But those are the sneaky plays. Those are your options going into week 10. Who's that sneaky start you got to throw in? Who's that jabroni you're looking at, that you're putting in your lineup, that you're praying to the fantasy gods that does it for you? Because everybody has to do so from time to time. That's why we roll out this video on Friday, so you can get a good look of the jabronis. And if that jabroni's on your bench, the waiver wire, or you're trading for him as a throw-in into a much larger deal, you could throw them in, see what happens if you're hurting that bad. Some of you guys are in leagues, you're starting like 5, 6, 7 wide receivers, 16 teamers, 22 teamers, all kinds of different leagues, deep Devy leagues, deep dynasty leagues. You're looking for other options that are on the cheap, or that's possibly on your deep roster to look at, that you're looking for the upside and you want to know more about the matchup. Here you go. Remember, the must starts are tomorrow. You may want to subscribe for that. Click that right now. But I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.